Ryan Gosling's 2011 neo-noir thriller Drive may not be the first film most audiences associate with all-time great cinematic antiheroes, but it should be. On the surface, it's a sleek, synth-heavy crime story about a mysterious stuntman who gets in too deep. But beneath that stylish exterior lies a narrative and character construction that quietly pays homage to one of Hollywood's most iconic storytelling blueprints, Clint Eastwood's Man with No Name from Sergio Leone's Dollars trilogy. 14 years later, the similarities feel almost uncanny, and Gosling's minimalist approach to character reveals itself as nothing short of brilliant. The driver is the neo-noir answer to the Man with No Name. Gosling's unnamed protagonist in Drive is a stunt driver by day and getaway driver by night. He speaks only when necessary, shows little to no emotional expression, and seems to carry a history that's never explicitly revealed. His connection to a young mother and her son brings out a softer side, but only until violence threatens that fragile peace. Then, the quiet man behind the wheel transforms into a brutal force of vengeance. It's a character almost ripped from the Leone playbook. Eastwood's Blondie, aka the Man with No Name, is similarly stoic, morally ambiguous, and mythic in presence. Like Driver, he isn't given a detailed backstory. Instead, he's defined by his actions, his silence, and his iconic look: poncho, cigar, and revolver. Gosling, on the other hand, trades cowboy gear for a satin scorpion jacket and a switchblade, but the essence remains the same. Both characters aren't so much human beings as they are symbols, avatars for justice, violence, and survival in lawless environments. While one rides through sun-scorched frontiers, the other prowls neon-lit streets of Los Angeles. But their DNA is shared. The power of a blank slate. The real genius behind both characters lies in what's missing. They aren't heavily written or over-explained. Driver doesn't spill his heart out, offer long monologues, or let audiences in on his history. Like Eastwood's Gunslinger, he invites projection. He's ambiguous by design, which is why he resonates so deeply with fans. He's a mirror, allowing viewers to insert their own emotions, trauma, and fantasies into his empty spaces. This strategy, often underestimated, creates a powerful form of audience connection. Gosling's character might not be realistic in the traditional sense, but that's exactly what gives him staying power. Whether fans see him as a romantic loner, a silent protector, or an emotionally stunted man trying to find meaning in chaos, none of them are wrong. Like Eastwood before him, Gosling's performance becomes a canvas. Drive's mythic realism still feels fresh. Though Drive has aged into cult classic status, it still feels strikingly modern in its aesthetic and tone. Nicholas Winding Refn directed the film like a dream, a neo-noir soaked in pinks, purples, and synthwave soundscapes. Within this surreal world, Gosling's Driver feels at once timeless and totally contemporary. What elevates the movie is that, much like Leone's westerns, it doesn't require a sprawling plot or heavy exposition. The story is told through mood, movement, and violent escalation. When Driver does speak, every word matters. When he explodes in anger or tenderness, it hits with more weight because of the silence that surrounds it. This is cinema at its most distilled: visuals, archetypes, and emotion. More style than substance, but not in a hollow way. Like a fistful of dollars, Drive is about the space between moments, the tension of waiting, the looming threat of violence, and the characters who seem untouchable until they aren't. The influence lingers in Gosling's career. Since Drive, Ryan Gosling has played characters that echo the driver's restrained, ambiguous nature. In Blade Runner 2049, he's another emotionally regulated man navigating a dystopian world. In The Nice Guys and The Fall Guy, his roles are more comedic, but there's still a familiar stoicism behind the charm. Even his turn as Ken in Barbie, though exaggerated and flamboyant, channels that same inner conflict, the search for identity and meaning in a world that doesn't always make sense. Yet none of these roles captured the mythic purity of Driver. The performance remains singular, not just for its precision, but for the way it invited the audience in. It didn't tell you who Driver was, it let you decide. A genre-bending masterpiece. Ultimately, Drive isn't just a stylish action film, it's a modern-day Western in disguise. Gosling's performance, much like Eastwood's decades before, strips a character down to his most essential parts and then lets the audience do the rest. The result? A cinematic icon who speaks to viewers in a uniquely personal way. Clint Eastwood showed us that sometimes the less you say, the more powerful you become. 14 years ago, Ryan Gosling proved that still holds true, and in doing so, became the modern myth audiences still can't stop projecting themselves onto.